What up, guys? How you doing? I know it's been a while, but I've been working hard to get this really dialed in for you guys. So after lots of trial and error, I think I got the PvP version of this dialed in. So I was playing around. It took me a while because I was playing around. I was on the fence between uh, damage over time, right? Focusing on the DOT aspect or just focusing on maximizing the base hit of Hydra. And it works out best if I just focus all the efforts on maximizing the base hit. That's what ends up killing everyone fastest. The damage over time, focusing on damage over time, using a staff and all that, it ended up not providing the best results. The PvP video is coming soon. I have my video creator working on it now, but I wanted to roll this out for you guys so you can start having some fun with it. I'm going to build off of this going into Season 6, but I think right now the way it is, I'm doing a lot of damage in PvP right now. So really the only thing that I struggle with is, Thorns Barbs, right? Because anything with hits really just struggles against that. But I'm going to go through this pretty briefly, and also I've updated, I created a separate PvP link, okay? So I'm going to do things a little bit different now to kind of organize things for you, because some people were getting confused with the different guides. So I'm going to have a link for the PvP build, and I'm going to have a separate link for the PvE builds, which that video is coming, my final update for that is coming up. But here's the PvP version, okay? Let's start with some basic stuff. So on the fence between using the Shaco or Undarials, the Shaco is definitely the way to go because of the cooldown reduction, right? You need it. It's huge. Plus 4 ranks to all skills, right? So that's a no-brainer. So I used to use Tyrells, right? But here's the thing. I noticed that if I focusing on damage reduction really doesn't do anything. Everyone is doing so much damage that I basically was wasting aspects and gear focusing on survivability, when really it just comes down to who kills who first, right? That's what PvP is like right now, because everyone is just doing such absurd amount of damage. So by getting away from trying to focus on a couple things to help with survivability, my damage just went crazy. So now I just kill people really fast, right? So definitely Raymond's is the way to go. This is the way that I got it: 2 to Glass Cannon, 1 to Intelligence. You want to keep re-rolling it. You don't want to waste any points in Elemental Attunement or Shocking Impact. Focus all of your tempers, all of your masterworking on Glass Cannon and Intelligence, okay? I got really lucky with my gloves, okay? I know you find it interesting, maybe this aspect, Intercom. You don't walk with this build, right? There's no movement speed needed, because with this build you're teleporting non-stop very quickly, right? I'll show you, I'll do a little demo once we're done. So what you want here is crit chance, vulnerable damage, and intelligence, okay? Barrier generation, and you want vulnerable damage on your temper as well. Okay, I got really lucky with these masterworkings. All 3 to the GA vulnerable. It doesn't get any better than that. Next, we have pants here. I used to have things on warmth. Again, focusing on things like survivability. It really is just going to come down to immunity, flame shield, and deep freeze, right? Timing these things. We're going to get into the mechanics afterwards, but first let's talk about the gear, okay? So I like these points, right? Intelligence, max life, and flame shield. I like it. Ideally, if you can get them all in flame shield or intelligence, that's the way to go, but this spread is not bad. I was satisfied with it. Here we have the Prudent Heart aspect. Not sure what the name of it is, but this is a key one, because the way the mechanics works in PvP, you want to cycle through between using your flame shield enchantment, and this immunity for survivability, right? Again, damage reduction did absolutely nothing. I had so much damage reduction in my previous setup, and I was still getting one-shotted. So if I'm still going to get one-shotted with a ton of damage reduction, why waste my gear on it, right? So focus your gear. The way that a source truly survives is by cycling different ways to become immune, right? Impervious to damage. That's really the only way. So focus all of your efforts on damage. Okay? Moving on, boots. So the exploiters aspect is the way to go here, right? The 40%. Everybody's unstoppable in PvP, right? So as soon as they're unstoppable, boom, you get that 40%. You want to ideally get all your points in intelligence, but I was okay with getting that masterwork in evade because, again, you're going to want evade cooldown here and evade cooldown on the amulet, because that is a huge part of how quickly you zip around the map and you get out of tight spots. I'm going to demo this later. So on the wand, you want the serpentine aspect, right? You want that extra hydra. Again, as you're moving around, you're leaving hydras behind, so you are just spreading out your hydras. Just having 3 hydras out is just it's just an insane amount of damage. Now, here's another thing that I came to find out. I was on the fence. Hey, should I focus on damage or should I focus on getting more heads? Right? So I found that, just 1 point in the extra heads, right? You want to get it maxed out on the temper, of course, but just getting 1 point. You don't need any more. You want to focus the rest of your rolls, the rest of your masterworkings on damage affixes, okay? Vulnerable damage, crit strike damage, right? Hydra damage, right? Anything in damage, but you don't want more than 1 point in the heads. I've noticed that wasting, you really don't get much of the extra heads, whereas you do get a lot out of boosting your damage, right? This build is critical striking and vulnerable, doing vulnerable damage and critical striking non-stop. It's absurd. My critical strike percentage is like 80% with this build. I'll get to that later. But I mean, think about all these little fire bolts going out, critical striking. Devouring Blaze has a ton of points in it. We're gonna get to that next. So, moving on to the focus here. Okay, so again, 1 point to the head. I got a masterwork in Hydra damage. I like it, and then the other one in damage. Perfect. This is solid. This aspect you want it to be the Storm Soul aspect. You have a barrier up at all times, right? And everything is vulnerable at all times because of the lightning spear. Okay, I mean, these are no-brainers pretty much for any source build right now. These are the only 2 ways to go. These are the only 2 things that make sense, right? 50% multiplicative, 80% multiplicative, cooldown reduction, non-fizz, lucky hit chance, attack speed, crit chance. These 2 rings are pretty much irreplaceable. I don't see how you should be using any other 2 rings for any source build, to be quite honest. This is the way to go. If you can get all your points in attack speed here for this build, great. And if you can get all your points in cooldown reduction here, great. I got lucky. I spent a lot of mats trying to get these this way, so pretty straightforward. Moving on. Okay, the amulet. So I have tested so many different amulets and spent billions and billions on getting different amulets to find out which combination of the 3 affixes would be the best. And I found that focusing on Devouring Blaze for this setup is significantly better than focusing on Conjuration Mastery. And then getting your crit chance. So this is the way I got really lucky with these rolls. If I could have gotten them all into Devouring Blaze, that would have been even better. But I like this. 2 of the Masterworks into Devouring Blaze, 1 into Conjuration Mastery. If you can get GA Conjuration Mastery and GA Devouring Blaze, that's great. But on Marketplace, those things are like 80 billion right now, so it's absurd. Crazy prices. I mean, this one cost me like 15 bill. So the tempers you want: Hydra damage and evade cooldown. I'm going to get into that. You're getting a ton of vulnerable damage here, and then you got your crit here. So you do want some of the tempers to be at least 2 out of these 4, right? The wand, the focus, the amulet, and the gloves. You want at least 2 of them to be Hydra damage, right? You don't want everything being vulnerable and everything being crit. You do want to increase the base damage of Hydra a bit. The main thing here is getting these shredding blades, right? Because that one is non-conditional. You're just getting a flat 45% multiplicative. You don't need a barrier. So that's the one that's going to be up all the time. That's why you want to put it there, to get that 50% boost. Let's move on to skills. So I changed this up a bit as well, guys. So for PvP, we're no longer using this. We're focusing all on crit, right? We want crit damage, crit damage. We got 9 points, right, in Devouring Blaze, right? I mean, this is awesome. 63% critical strike. And if we look at our critical strike chance, right, we are at 69% plus the 12% that you get for pyromancy skills on the Paragon board. So we're at 80, roughly 82%. Critical strike chance, guys. You're critical striking all the time, plus you're doing a ton of vulnerable damage. Plus, this doesn't even show the full critical strike damage, because this doesn't show the invocation critical strike damage from the Paragon board. This just shows straight up critical strike. So this is missing like 200-300%, right? So let's get back to the skill tree. So we're using ice armor now. I got rid of ice blades. I know, it's strange, right? But trust me, guys, I found that is the most effective, the best outcome for PvP. The extra damage that you're getting, that you're missing from having that one ice blade out there, is nothing. It's really not that much, not that huge of a difference. The survivability that you get from being able to hit ice armor real quick is much more important than the ice blades, okay? We're not putting any points in it. We're getting it straight from the Shaco. 3 points into Glass Cannon, plus the points from the raiments. No points into Elemental Attunement, because we're getting 3 free points, right? So we save that on the raiments. Maxing out align the elements, right? Because you're zipping around, and believe it or not, this adds up, right? You get 9, 18, and then it adds up very quickly. And the fact that it lasts for 3 seconds after, I mean, you're usually killing your opponents within 3 to 7 seconds anyways, right? You want to max this out because you're constantly casting things. So, I mean, that's a no-brainer. You're constantly teleporting. You have a ton of cooldown reduction. Everything's resetting in about 5 to 7 seconds. So you want to max this out. You're blasting Hydras nonstop. This is pretty much a 30%, 100% uptime on this 30% damage reduction. Okay, you want that. Obviously, max out Conjuration Mastery, max out Inner Flames, and max out Devouring Blaze. You want to get all your points all the way through to Supreme Deep Freeze, right, to reset your cooldowns when needed. And I threw this in here. I like this because your main source of getting everyone vulnerable is Lightning Spear, right? With the upgrade to Lightning Spear that it shoots out 2 spears, you're pretty much getting everything, and it's getting a 15% boost on top of the fact that you're already at 70%. So pretty much every single hit is going to get your opponents vulnerable. So having this is pretty awesome, because people are dealing 18% less damage for 5 seconds after being critically struck by your shock skills, and it's non-stop, right? Those 2 lightning spears. Here, I max this out just for the damage. Remember, the teleport evade doesn't count as walking, so this is going to be activated all the time, and so is the Inner Flames. Right, so intercom, excuse me. So you're getting this multiplicative and the multiplicative from the intercom nonstop, because if you're teleport evading and you're not walking, that actually does not count as movement. So you have that going. You have that up nonstop. You're basically playing. This build is played with the shift key down the whole time, right? Right, Soulfire, and then you got just 1 point here just to get to these two, right? Increase, get that extra 15%. Why not? You got 3 points. You don't know what to do with them. You don't need the increased barrier. You have uptime on barrier here is pretty crazy. That's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna try to keep this quick because I mean the build. I'm gonna post the build up. Now, as far as the Paragon board goes, the only actually there's no change to the Paragon board from my last setup, actually. So nothing's really changing here. Everything's the same. Like I said, this is my Paragon board is always pretty dialed in. Not much room for improvement. I mean, the only reason why I have this here again is just to squeeze out enough to try to max this out. Okay. All right, let's go through some mechanics real quick. So, right, you want to hold down the shift key, and you're casting. Your rate of cast makes it so that you're very mobile, right? Look how fast you zip around the map. So the way it works is, you know, you want to take advantage of the fact that your hydras are basically got jumped. Alright, that's not going to happen again. You want to take advantage of the fact that your hydras have that range, right? Because they're firing from over here while you could be off screen, right? So, I mean, this build is pretty nasty, as you can see. This guy's just going to end up on my video, but that's basically the mechanics of it, right? You want to cycle your immunity. You want to launch this at the right time, right? I mean, the amount of damage that I'm doing, guys, is absurd with this setup, okay? So, you know, you're going to be mopping people. You're going to be mopping people. Basically, they got to hit you first, because if you manage to gang up on them, it's a wrap. I mean, look how quick this thing is. You're just getting around, right? So much fun. It's abusive. It's so much fun. The mobility of this is just incredible. I mean, obviously, no one in PvP is impervious to being killed, right? You can be jumped. You know, you're gonna die, but this build is a lot of fun. Does a ton of damage, and it's just overall great. So you see how basically how that worked, by the way. You launch your lightning spears, right? It's gonna make your opponents vulnerable, right? You keep your distance when you need to, right? Because you're constantly resetting your evade, you can boom, right? Right, keep your distance easily. And if people are chasing you, right, you're constantly leaving a hydra behind. So the people that chase you basically kill themselves, right? Because this is what's happening when they're chasing you, right? Imagine someone behind you. The hydras are just blasting them right in the face the entire time, right? So people that chase you are pretty much screwed. So the ones that are smart don't chase you, and then those are the ones where you actually have a little battle with, right? Where you have to... So think about this. I'm placing the hydra all the way at the edges of the screen. Now, their firing range is a whole nother screen. So think about how far away I can be from my opponents while still hitting them. That's the main advantage that Hydra has. That's the main advantage from Hydras, is that you get to like be completely off screen and still be doing damage, right? So take advantage of that range, right? Don't be close to an opponent if you don't need to. Take advantage of this mobility, right? This isn't a build where you're going to face tank, right? You do want to cycle your Flame Shield enchantment, and then your immunity here, and then your actual Flame Shield, and then reset everything with Deep Freeze, right? So you have a ton of survivability, right? You want to actually use your actual Flame Shield as a last resort, right? So you're teleporting around, right? Your immunity is going to hit first, and then your Flame Shield enchantment is going to hit next, and then you have Ice Armor, then you have your actual Flame Shield, right? Then if you need to, you reset real quick, right? And then you got your Flame Shield back. So that's basically the mechanics for this build, okay? It's going to take practice. It's not an easy build by any means to use. But let's go fuck some people up. That was rude. That was rude. That guy was like level 80. My bad. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comments. This build is a whole lot of fun. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to post the PvE final variant as well. It's a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's crazy fun. So this build is actually, because it's designed for crazy single target damage, it's actually really good for tormented bosses. So you don't even have to switch anything at all from this build to do tormented bosses. So, you know, it's very versatile in that sense. Area damage, it's not the best, right? So I'm going to show you guys my PvE variant here shortly. But anyways, guys, enjoy. Let me know what you think, and you know, drop a comment. This build is incredibly powerful. It's a lot of fun, and you're gonna be kicking some ass. Okay, drop some comments if you have any questions on mechanics or if you need any help. Okay. I mean, look at this. I just everyone just gets clapped in seconds. I'm doing so much damage. This is so much fun. Oh god, it's taken so much trial and error, guys, to get to this. So please enjoy, and I will build on this into season 6 because I don't think this build can get any better. The PvP version of this build, I think I've maxed it out. I've squeezed out every ounce of survivability, damage, mobility. Nothing else can be done here. So I'm going to build off of this for you guys for into season 6, and you know, go from there. Coming up next is going to be the PvE variant, okay? So, alright, bye guys.